Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. Present, Stacy, in the bushes. The little bitch's husband leaves the camera and rolls over to her unconscious body. I quickly remove the damn tape from the camera, gather my pants, and put them on. I'm tired of giving these scumsuckers a show. Then I see that Bo and Patches have obliterated the tiger, and I call, Bo, Patches, come on, we're leaving. Emmanuel declares, you can't go anywhere. We're stranded because the news van was stolen. I question, did they leave the horse trailer? He replies, yes, they did. I smile and inform him, well, you may be stranded, but I still have my horses and their tack. So I'm leaving. The nosy little bitch wakes up and yells. Present, Samantha, in the bushes. I'm pissed as hell that fat prima donna bitch got in a lucky punch and knocked me out. I have a hell of a headache, but my reporter's blood kicks in when I hear Stacy say she's leaving, and I can't let that happen. I loudly complain, hey, what about our agreement? We transport you, and you give us exclusive interviews. She rudely laughs, I hate that bitch, and answers with a question, which I also hate. Well, how the hell can you transport me if you don't have a van? I counter, well, we've taken you this far, so? My damn phone rings and interrupts our discussion. Present, Liz, at the cabin. I get Yins settled down and find out that Ben probably took out a roadblock, is probably traveling on a semi, and that Linus team needs more information on finding him. So I decide to call Sam and see if she's weaseled anything out of Stacy. Sam answers the phone in a hell of a pissed-off mood. What the hell do you want? I react naturally in my bitchiest manner. Excuse the hell out of me. But just who the hell is who's boss here? There's a short pause, and she says, sorry, Liz. You're the boss, it's just that things have gone to hell here, and I need someone to blame. I finally put the phone on speaker and order, okay, Samantha, tell us what's happened. She replies, well, Liz, I hate to tell you this, but the new news van was stolen and Stacy's taking off on her horses. Jack complains, tell that damn crew they're a bunch of morons for not leaving someone standing watch. Sam counters, we normally do, but the tiger attacked Stacy when she was indisposed, and she shot and killed it. I could tell Sam was going to say more, but stopped, so I queried, Sam, is there more to this story that you didn't tell us? She complains, damn it, Liz, how did you know? I laugh, my reporter's instinct, so spill it. Samantha pauses and says, well, I guess you would find out anyway. She recounts the whole story, tells us their current location, and when she gets to the fight, Yins interrupts, I hope you kicked that fat butt of hers. Sam was quiet for almost half a minute, then starts talking crazy. Present, Samantha, in the bushes. I noticed that damn Stacy bitch has been listening closely to my conversation with Liz while she was saddling her damn horses. She smirks when I get to the part about the fight, and I have a hell of an idea, so I quickly say to Liz and everyone else there, you don't say? That does sound like an excellent lead on where Ben is. When the new news van gets here, we will leave immediately. Present, Frank, in the bushes. I pull my brother Emmanuel aside, discuss my idea, he likes the hell out of it, and goes and talks to the rest of the men. I listen to my sexy young wife talking on the phone, and it sounds like they have some idea where Ben might be, so I return to Emmanuel and give him the good news. Present, Yins, at the cabin. I question, Samantha, have you gone crazy? Now answer my question, did you kick that fat bitch's butt? Samantha confuses me even more. Yes, that's right, I'm sure with the information you just gave me we will find Ben in no time at all. I start to complain, but Liz cuts me off by saying, Yins, I think Stacy is listening in and Sam might be pulling a fast one on her. Sam, please tell me if I'm correct. Sam replies, yes, Liz, you are. We will take off as soon as the new van gets here. Then she hangs up the phone. Yins complains, damn, I wish I was there. I would have kicked that. She looks around and sees Ivan and changes in midstream. I would have made her sorry for the day she was born. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei, at the cabin. This has been most entertaining. Ms. Donaldson has been occupied with Ms. Summers and has totally ignored the threat which I pose. My sister Ira's phone and my phone both indicate we have messages. We simultaneously retrieve them, then study each other, and our shared glances inform us more completely than mere vocalizations. My sister Irinka states, I perceive our presence is no longer necessary, so we are retiring to our quarters. We reinitiate our bipedal units, turn and depart, making certain we maintain our corporeal selves between Alexei and the highly volatile Ms. Donaldson. We acquire the hallway, dislocated from prying auditory units, and Ira inquires, Marika, do you fathom the importance of the communique? I reply, affirmative. We will initiate protective shifts tonight. Alexei observantly questions, my sisters, I perceive the phone notification you received has great importance. I tussle his hair and respond, yes, my brother, we have much preparation tonight, then you must sleep well for tomorrow your training begins in earnest. We acquire our room. I help my sister prepare many weapons and packs and question what is happening. Finally, my sister Ira instructs. Present, Jens, at the cabin. The twisted sisters leave taking that scumsucker boy with them. Once I'm sure they are gone, I complain. Liz, that little Alexei SOB was the one that pranked me. If those two are your bodyguards, you need to do something about keeping them and their damn brother under control, because nobody pranks me in my house. Liz tries to calm me. Jens, come on, it's not even as bad as the things Ben did to us. Jack adds, yeah, sorry about my little prank, but I was upset that all the noise you made woke Vanya. But if you remember, you're the one that started the pranks with that damn horn of yours. Rats, double rats, and triple rats. I hate it when Jack's right. Yeah, I did start the whole idea of pranking, so I strategically decide to change the subject. Has anyone heard from Tom and Byron? Masha replies, they and one of my acquaintances are en route to Aruba using a personal aircraft. I will receive and relay a report when they acquire land. I look around the room and state, well, I still need to get cleaned up and go to bed. Odark 30 comes early in the morning. We all leave the library, but I still wonder how I can pull off retribution on Alexei and Jack without having to fight the twins and Masha. Present, Stacy, in the bushes. I've been listening to that damn nosy news reporter Samantha bitch, and while at first I enjoyed her describing to her boss, and I hope that damn Jennifer bitch, about the fight, I sure as hell don't like what I just heard. It sounds like they have a good lead on finding Ben. I remember my promise to Ben and the many times he saved my butt and feel guilty. I swallow part of my pride. Hey, I did knock her butt out. And because of my promise to Ben, I walk to her, extend my hand and hope. Samantha? No hard feelings. Present, Samantha, in the bushes. Damn, my thoughts were right. Stacy's trying to keep us from finding Ben, and I was able to pull a fast on her. As she holds out her hand, I give her my best pissed look and say, what the hell were you thinking by putting a gun to my head? You're lucky the team didn't kill you. She gives me a funny look and gives a backhanded apology. Well, without Ben, life isn't much worth living anyway. Now what the hell sort of shit is she trying to feed me? I look around and question, so when are you leaving? Stacy smiles and answers, well, I've decided to honor our agreement, and I will stay here with you until you can transport me and my horses to the closest large city. I smile and push a little. Well, we still have a camera here. How about an interview? Present, Stacy, in the bushes. Yes, I tricked the damn nosy news reporter bitch. I will keep leading her on in the interviews so they don't go after my Ben. Hey, I have a hell of an idea. Present, Linus, Matt, and Jim, somewhere in Texas. We walk into the truck stop restaurant, but stop short as we see everyone in the damn place has a weapon pointed at us. Damn, we've been caught flat-footed. Someone yells, don't make any sudden moves and reach for the sky. I raise my hands. Matt and Jim follow and I question, listen, we aren't here to cause any problems. We're looking for a friend of ours. Someone else yells, I doubt that. Not with the guns you're carrying. I bet you're one of those roadside gangs looking for your next victim. I counter, no, actually, we're looking for a friend of ours who just defeated one of the roadside gangs. Someone else yells, yeah, we've heard of him. He's our trucker's angel. And if you're looking for him, you're not welcome here. So if I was you, I would get those damn nosy noses of yours out the door before we shoot your butts. I whisper to Matt and Jim, back slowly toward the door. We're almost to the door when someone touches off around. Then we're in a hell of a firefight. Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga, on a charter jet headed towards Venezuela. Because Inga was cheating, I refused to take off my pants. Instead, I gather my clothes, begin to get back into them and declare, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm going to catch some sleep. Byron agrees. Yeah, it's too damn late for me. Inga questions, Mr. Tom, perhaps we could share a row of seats. Normally, I would have jumped all over this. I mean, jumped her bones. But I'm damn pissed right now about her cheating, so I decline. Not tonight, Inga. I have a headache. What the hell? Did I just hear Tom refuse a woman? I start to verify, Tom, are you sick? Tom responds, Byron, shut up. I flip him off and counter, I liked you much better when you were a man, 304. Then I crawled off for some shut-eye. Mr. Tom is not going to resist my advances that easily. I do not reapply the dress which I purposefully lost in the poker game to distract him. I reach behind my back, remove my bra, and explain, I sleep in only my panties. I observe as Mr. Tom's eyes practically depart their orbital cavities. Yes, I will have my way with him tonight. Present, Ben, outside Dallas in a truck stop. As I walk into the truck stop behind Stinky Pete, everyone looks at me and I notice they all have weapons. I quickly move my hands to my weapons, then something amazing happens. They all stand to start clapping and cheering. I am confused as hell. Stinky Pete and I take a table when a rough as hell looking old man walks up and states, I want to shake your hand, mister. I shake his hand, and this continues until all the truckers have welcomed me. The last one asks, you mind if I pull up a seat? I'm still a bit dazed, so Stinky Pete offers, help yourself, Reckless Raymond. I look at him and ask, what the hell just happened? Reckless Raymond laughs. Shit, son. Stinky Pete got on the CB and told everyone how you saved his, but from the roadblock. As far as all of us is concerned, you're now our trucker's angel. I heard you want to head to Austin. Well, I'm headed that way and would love to have you ride shotgun for me. 3 other guys walk up to the table and start a discussion. Shit, Reckless. Don't hog him all to yourself. You know we's all headed to Austin. Why don't you take lead with our trucker's angel riding with you, and we will have a convoy? I state, well, I do need a ride to Austin. Reckless Raymond states, good, it's settled. By the way, eat whatever the hell you want. It's already been paid for, and if you fancy a little time with Millie the waitress, she'd love to clean your pipes. I reply, thanks, Reckless, but I would really like to just eat and get moving. Millie brings me a huge amount of food. She's not half bad looking, and if I wasn't so screwed in the head, I'd tap her. She sashays away as I dig in. September 1st, 2004. Flashback, Ben, in Moscow. This has been a hell of a day, and Jack picked the perfect day to play hooky. The Spetsnaz decided this was the day when they were going to break this American. They tried their best, but I was like a Timex watch. I took a licking and kept on ticking. But my butt was dragging, so all I wanted to do tonight was eat some chow, file my reports to M, and hit the rack. I was almost to the apartment when, shit, I forgot about that. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. This has been a hell of a day. I picked the perfect day to blow off this Spetsnaz crap and get better acquainted with Masha. Damn, what a woman. After spending all day getting to know each other better, we were both tired as hell. I held her close to me in the bathtub and gently washed her back. She practically purred, Jack, that feels so wonderful. I answered, not as wonderful as you are. She snuggled closer and said, the water is chilled, so let's depart the bathtub, and I will prepare you some dinner. I questioned, you know how to cook? She laughed as she stood up and replied, of course I know, don't all women? I thought immediately, hell no, not in America. But then that was one of the great things about Masha. She wasn't a normal, self-absorbed female that felt she was entitled to everything in the world. She stepped out of the tub, I watched her dry off, and then she headed out of the bathroom, in the nude. I jumped out of the tub and dried off quickly so I could watch her. When she walked, it was almost magical. Flashback, Ben, in Moscow. Yeah, I forgot about Jack and Masha. I sure hope to hell they're not going at it like they were this morning, because that was embarrassing. I decided I'd better make a hell of a lot of noise because I didn't want to walk in on anything. I banged around on the door, opened it, walked in, and the place was empty. Where the hell is Jack? I set my stuff down, walked over to the table, and picked up a note that said, Ben, I've decided to move into Masha's place so we could have a little more privacy. Then it listed the address and Masha's phone number. Shit, this was all I needed. Who the hell was going to do Jack's half of the report? I pulled out my phone and dialed her number. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. I was happy that Jack moved in with me. However, I still had one gigantic problem which I was uncertain how to handle. I was making dinner when my phone rang, so I picked it up and heard, Masha, this is Ben, let me talk to Jack. I smiled at my love and said, Jack, it's Ben, and he sounds upset. Jack came over, took the phone from me after giving me a kiss and fondling my derriere, and he said, okay, Ben, what the hell is wrong? Flashback, Ben, in Moscow. I complained, Jack, what the hell are you doing moving out? Jack laughed, I'm doing what the hell I want to do. Shit, it's not like I'm really needed. I continued, Jack, you're a hell of a lot better spotter than anyone they have. Besides, what about your half of the report to M? He stated, well, thanks for the vote of confidence in me, but it will do you some good to work with other spotters because I'm not going to be in the Corps forever. And as far as my half of the report, just fake something for me. I started hearing some noise over the phone and, oh hell, not again. Thank God the phone went dead. I'd known Jack forever, and this just wasn't like him. If I wasn't so damn tired tonight, I'd head over to Masha's place and kick his butt all the way back here. I rummaged around in the fridge, found some bread, cold cuts, cheese, and leftover soup. I made myself 5 damn sandwiches and started eating them and the soup while working on the report for M. I finished the report and my meal when there was a knock on my door, just as all hell broke loose. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. My sergeant walked in while I was trying to figure out if Sergeant Blaine could have made Baskerville and stated, Sir, I think we figured it out. As near as we can tell, Baskerville was a highly modified Kamaz truck. I looked at him and questioned, wasn't that a Kamaz truck, the SGTS, liberated from the missile site? He replied, affirmative. They liberated it right before the missile was destroyed. Then he went on to detail what they thought the modifications were. This sounded very promising until I questioned, okay, what proof do we have that the SGTS actually created and operated Baskerville? My sergeant frowned with his answer, Sir, that's the problem. With Baskerville being totally destroyed, there is no proof. I added, and knowing the SGTS the way I do, There's no way to trip them up so they would give me the proof. My computer dinged, so I dismissed the sergeant, looked, and noticed the report from the Sergeant Blaine and Sergeant Reynolds had come into crypto, and I would have it in a few minutes. I have to say that they were doing a bang-up job. The intel I was getting was invaluable. I sent off an email request to my Mossad friend to see if he was able to debrief the Sedankina twins about Baskerville, because I heard they were back in Israel raising hell, which was fine with me as long as they weren't chasing my butt. The report came in. I looked at it and stated to myself, wait a minute, something doesn't look right. The sergeant burst into my office and said, sorry to interrupt, sir, but you need to see this. All hell is breaking loose in Russia. I jumped up from my chair and headed into the main room, where I could tell right away things weren't just bad, they were screwed. Flashback, Ira and Mira, in Israel. We were relaxing at our domicile, having just completed our mission reports and adding today's terminations to our records. I smiled since I was currently in the termination lead. This would incessantly aggravate my sister Mira. A knock at the door interrupted us. This was a massively uncommon occurrence, and our awareness of situation became intense, and our superlative training activated. We quickly acquired many weapons. Marinka located herself on the far side of the bed with a fully automatic Uzi aimed at the door, and I fell to the floor and crawled to the side of the doorway. This was operations of standard procedures. Upon arrival at the doorway, I fixated on my sister's eyes to ascertain she was prepared, slipped our snake camera under the door, and recognized our Israeli contact. I scanned the entirety of the hall many times, but could not ascertain any additional visitors. I slowly rose, snatched open the door, rapidly placed my pistol adjacent to his temple, and announced, do not ever come to our domicile again. It is a serious breach of protocol. I secretly smiled as he visibly quivered, but responded, I had a request to debrief you on Baskerville. I succinctly communicated, you can inform Major M, he can put Baskerville up his alimentary canal doubly folded. We are not here to answer his, or even your interrogations. So unless you would prefer to be added to our termination list, depart post-haste, and send us our next assignment through proper channels. His face blanched white as he departed. I once again barricaded the door and stated to my sister, we must now relocate our position because it has been compromised. I stood watch as she packed our materials. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. Jack was sleeping. I guess he was finally tired, and it was the perfect time for me to check my email. I logged into my computer and checked the daily reports from the Sedankina twins. I smiled since they caught the trap. That was normal for them. It was impressive that in spite of the trap, they still discovered and eliminated the target. I wrote my daily report to my superiors, which I had to falsify because of my preoccupation with Jack. Sent it, then a new urgent email arrived. I opened it, and my stomach fell to the floor, and tears flowed from my eyes. I yelled for Jack, Jack, honey, wake up. He wandered over and asked, Masha, is something wrong? Even then I knew I had to pretend. Honey, you told me you were working with the Spetsnaz. What was the name of your team? He replied, Team Vimple. Why do you ask? I conveyed my worry. Jack, my love, you might be in trouble. Present, Linus, Matt, and Jim, somewhere in Texas. Hell, we sure didn't expect the reception we got at the truck stop. After all, these were Americans. Then we made a huge mistake asking them about Ben. What the hell is a trucker's angel anyway? We're almost to the door when someone touches off around, then we're in an all-out firefight. Thank God we're professionals, and they're not. And thank God Matt and Jim aren't shooting to kill. Yeah, we're giving them something to think about while they're grabbing their butts and firing wildly. I shoot out the damn big window by the door and yell, with me. We dive through the window, haul to the car, jump in, and Jim makes like Daryl Waltrip as we fly out of the parking lot and onto the highway. Matt comes out of his daze and asks, what the hell just happened? I answer, I sure don't know. Do you two know what the hell a trucker's angel is? Matt replies, hell if I know. Jim answers, I'm not sure, but perhaps it's like a guardian angel. I say, I think I'd better report this to Jens. And then I make the call. Present, Jens, at the cabin. I just get to my room, take off my clothes, and I'm almost in the shower when my phone rings. I look at it and see it's Linus. I pick it up and answer, Linus, this had better be good because I was just going to bed. I can sense the stress in his voice when he starts. Jens, we have an issue and we need to talk. I question, do we need the whole team? He states, yeah, Jens, we do, because we just had a shootout in a truck stop and the more minds and ears on this, the better. I tell him, okay, give me 5 minutes and we'll call you right back. I roused Liz, Bernie, Jack, and Maria. The rest I didn't think are needed. Then we head to the library and call Linus. Present, Linus, Matt, and Jim, somewhere in Texas. Jens calls me back and asks, okay, Linus, what's going on? Linus replies, shit, Jens, we just had a shootout in a truck stop and barely escaped with our lives. Jack interrupts, a shootout at a truck stop? I thought you guys were supposed to be undercover. I shush Jack and say, Okay, Linus, give us the details. He tells us everything, and when he gets to the part about Ben being a trucker's angel, he pauses and says, I sure as hell don't know what a trucker's angel is. Maria is typing like crazy on her computer, and then she announces, Linus, who has forgotten to call me. It looks like a trucker's angel is like a guardian angel for truckers. Linus replies, sorry honey, we've been real busy. I nip this in the bud and say, listen, you two can talk when we're done. First we need to figure out what we're going to do. Suddenly we hear a hell of a noise. Matt and Jim start yelling, and finally Linus yells, son of a bitch. What are those crazy? Then the phone goes dead. I question, Linus, are you there? I try calling back, but don't get an answer. Maria looks at me and says, Jens, I sure hope Linus is okay. I try calling back again, but still don't get an answer. Liz offers, let me call Sam and see if they can find out what's going on. Present, Samantha, waiting for the new news van. I'm going to interview the hell out of this Stacy bitch, and there's no way she's taking over the interview this time. My lovely husband Frank grabs the camera and states, Sam, we can't do the interview. I look at him and question, why not? He replies, Stacy took the tape out of the camera, and with the news van missing, we don't have any more tapes. I look at Stacy. She puts her hands on her waist and defiantly declares, there's no way in hell you're getting that tape. Especially not after I heard you say what you were going to do with it. I'm not having my butt plastered all over the internet. I glare at her, get ready to give her hell when my phone rings. I see it's Liz, so this time I put it on speaker and answer it correctly. Present, Liz, at the cabin. I call Sam, put the phone on speaker, and she answers, my supreme and great-looking boss, how might I serve you? I chuckle and answer, Sam, did the new news van get there yet? Sam replies, not yet, Liz. We were just going to interview Stacy, but we don't have a tape in the camera. This sounds strange, so I question her, what happened to the tape? She pauses, then I hear Stacy yell, I took the damn tape because your pervert newsmen took a video of me without my pants on while I kicked Samantha's bony butt. Jens fires back, yelling, if I were there, I'd have knocked you down so hard you wouldn't know which way was up. We hear Stacy laugh as she taunts, well, is that Jennifer Donaldson? Or should I say Princess Pixie Stick? Too bad you couldn't hold on to your man. He sure couldn't stay away from me. Guess you just weren't enough for him. Jens lunges at the phone, shouting, no one calls me princess, let alone Pixie Stick, and gets away with it. I'm going to find you and make you regret it. Stacy laughs and replies, as Ben loved to say, I'm your Huckleberry. Jens grabs the phone and yells, oh yeah, I'll show you Huckleberry. She gets ready to throw the phone. I grab it out of her hands and order, Jack, get over here and take care of Jens. Then I take the phone off speaker and order, Sam, if you put your phone on speaker, that was a mistake. Listen, I need to calm Jens down, then we need to talk. Present, Samantha, waiting for the new news van. Liz hangs up the phone. I look at Stacy and she's grinning like the cat that ate the canary, so I ask, did Ben really make love to you? Because I thought Guy was the one that got you pregnant. She smiles and says, Sam, since this isn't an interview, come with me and let me tell you all about what a great lover Ben was. Present, Stacy, waiting for the new news van. Yes, that was better than I even dreamed of. I got to put that Jennifer bitch in her place, and now I get to feed this Samantha bitch a bunch of BS about Ben and me. And I'm certain it will get back to her bosses. Present, Samantha, waiting for the new news van. Wow, I am hot as hell and wish I could find a private place to share with my husband. If even half of what Stacy told me about Ben is true, then he's a hell of a lover. The replacement news van pulls up just as my phone rings. It's Liz again, and this time I wisely choose to keep it off the speakerphone. I watch as Stacy gets busy with her horses and the trailer. I move far away from her and apologize. Sorry about that, Liz, I didn't know there would be such a fight. Liz answers, that's okay, Sam, you didn't know. But we need to keep those two apart. I reply, yeah, especially after Stacy told me about what really happened between her and Ben. Liz, I've read some sexy as hell books, but Liz cuts me off. Sam, I highly doubt what Stacy told you is true. She's just trying to get Jens worked up, so I sure as hell don't want you talking about it. Now there's going to be a change in plans. We were on the phone with Linus, and they had a big shootout at a truck stop. While they were driving away, something happened, and their phone went dead. Maria got busy, found the sheriff's department reports on the shootout and the GPS location of Linus's phone. She will send you the information. You guys need to get down there as quickly as you can and see what's going on. I reply, Stacy isn't going to like this because she's doing everything she can to keep us from finding Ben. Liz says, if she doesn't like it, tell her the deal's off, and she can ride those damn horses of hers back to civilization. One more thing, and this is very important. Don't tell the truckers you're looking for Ben or something called a trucker's angel. That's what got Linus' team in trouble. Now move your butt and give us a call when you find out what's happened to Linus. The email comes in from Maria. I walk over to Frank and describe the change in plans. He looks at me and questions, when are you telling Stacy? I laugh. I'm not telling her shit unless she asks. Frank relays the message. We load up in the new van. Do a U-turn, and Stacy complains. Hey, where the hell are we going? I grin and explain. There's been a change in plans. Something has happened to one of our teams, and we were told to go find out what happened. Stacy orders, stop this van and let me out. It's my turn to be a pain in the butt, so I laugh. We aren't stopping until we get to the last known location of our team. We will be glad to let you out there. So sit the hell down and shut the hell up. She starts to get up. I nod my head, and Emmanuel grabs her, ties her hands behind her back, and sits her but back down. She screams, this is kidnapping. My lovely husband says, and it's your word against all of ours. So shut the hell up like my wife said, or we will gag you. I taunt. How about an interview now? She glares at me and threatens. I will make you pay. She never gets to finish because Emmanuel gags her. I grin. It's nice being in control. Present, Ira, Mira, and Alexei at the cabin. I reiterate, is tomorrow's plan completely comprehended? Mira asserts, certainly my sister Ira, I comprehend my assignment. Alexei contributes, yes my sister, I know my duty. I continue, has all of our equipment been inspected? Alexei replies, I examined all of it. Mira clarifies, and I also doubled the check. Alexei questions, my sisters, shouldn't we alert Ms. Donaldson and the others of our course of action? Mira tutors, Alexei, it is not our operandi of modus to inform others of information which we have received. I continue, because we then must reveal our confidential sources. I order, I will stand first of watch while you two attempt sleep because the dark of 0:30 arrives early. They attempt sleep, but sleep did not encroach for many hours. Present, TA, Trucker's Angel, Ben. Trip from Dallas to Austin. First roadblock. I'm riding with Reckless Raymond. He wants to gab up a storm, but I'm more interested to see if he has any intel on the roadblocks. I ask, Reckless Raymond, I was wondering if you had any idea how the roadblocks work. I guess what I don't understand is how they can get you guys to stop these big trucks with only their pickup trucks. It seems to me you all could plow right through them and keep on going. He gets real serious and explains, well, TA, if we was only dealing with the pickups we could. But the scumsuckers have gotten smart. Most of them have those spike strips like the Smokies, State Patrol, use. Some don't give a shit about the truck and shoot the hell out of the engine until it stops. And there are even some scumsuckers that are using them rocket grenades. I silently curse myself for not checking the back of those pickup trucks when I encountered the roadblock with Stinky Pete. I really needed to see what they had in the back. Reckless Raymond continues, shit. They kill us drivers if they catch us, so most of the time we try to stop, bail out of the truck, and hightail it into the woods. I notice the red glare from a couple cigarettes as we pass and order, Reckless Raymond, we're going to hit a roadblock soon, probably around the next big corner. I want you to stop halfway through the corner and let me out. He questions, should I tell the others? He's slowing as I reply, hell no. They have CB radios too, and we'll know we're on to them. What you all need to do is keep watch behind you, because we just passed part of a roadblock crew. We're going slow enough now, so I gear up, bail out of the cab, and take off running up the side of the road. I get closer and can't believe what the hell I see. Those scumsuckers are going to die. They have another truck stopped and are in the process of cleaning it out. But the worst thing is it looks like they just caught a car too, and it was full of women. I can't believe it. One of the scumsuckers breaks the side glass of the car and starts to drag a woman out. I drop to prone, slip the suppressor on the Lapua, set the bipod legs, range the target, dial in the elevation, and commence firing. The first shot still alerts everyone, but with the suppressor they can't determine my location or direction. My first shot takes out the scumsucker dragging the woman out of the car. His head explodes when the 300 grains of diplomacy connects. Then I concentrate on the other scumsuckers around the car. I laugh because the scumsuckers have no idea where I am and begin firing wildly in all directions, making a hell of a noise and causing no damage. The women jump out of the car, run toward the ditch, and I lay down a hell of a cover fire for them using the SYTF, screw you trigger finger, bolt manipulation technique we used in the Iraq or Afghanistan. I go through 4 5-round magazines in a little over a minute, counting switching mags, while making sure the women get to cover. Finally, they get smart and kill the lights, so now it's time for some real fun. I put the Lapua back into the rifle scabbard in my Eberl stock Dragonfly pack, slip the M4 out of the side scabbard, and begin to crawl toward the roadblock. I hear some noise off to my right side, so I crawl closer and hear a female voice say, "Shoo, I think I hear something." I whisper, "If you're the women from the car, keep your damn voices down." Of course they are the women, and don't listen. One says, "Hey, if you're the one that saved us, then we all owe you." I ignore their stupid comment and whisper an order, "Shut up unless you want the scumsuckers to find you." I continue crawling closer to the roadblock scumsuckers. They have gotten smart and are hunkered down behind their vehicles. This is going to make it hell to get them out. Then I hear a hell of a lot of growling, yelling and screaming, and wonder what the hell is going as they leave their shelter and fly toward me like they're on fire. From all the noise, I figure one of the damn zoo animals must be attacking them, but not wanting to look a gift horse in the mouth, I begin firing my M4. Things get quiet for about a minute, almost too quiet. Then I hear some firing from behind me and figure the back door of the roadblock came up to see what's happening, and the truckers open fire on them. I jump up and head back toward the trucks to see if they need any help. I get there, and the truckers are all laughing up a storm. One of them says, "Did you see the way they lit out of here? It was like their butts were on fire." Reckless Raymond sees me and says, "Hey TA, it sounded like you had a hell of a time up there. I wish we could have helped." I question, "So the back door showed up?" He laughs, "Yeah, and left just as fast once we started firing at them." I am just winding down when I hear the women start to scream. I take off and yell, "Shit, one of those scumsuckers must be going after the women. You guys did a great job, but keep your eyes open." I get close and damn, I can't believe it as I'm tackled and go down hard. The ladies scream, "Look, the bear is killing him." I laugh and yell, "He's not killing me, this is my good friend Wojciech." Then I realize all the growling I heard was Wojciech. I finally wrestle Wojciech off me, stand up, see the women up in a tree and laugh. "You all can come down, he doesn't bite very hard." As they start coming down, I notice Reckless Raymond's truck is approaching. He stops, gets out, and says, "TA, I came up to see if you needed any help. Is that a bear I see you with?" I laugh. "Hell yes, this is my good friend Wojciech. He helped me fight the bad guys that set up the roadblock." Reckless Raymond says, "Shit, I know him. Wait a minute, I have something for him." The ladies are out of the tree and are still pretty gun-shy of Wojciech. I say, "You can pet him, he doesn't mind." One of the ladies says, "Well, we hate to tell you this, but he smells real bad." One of them adds, "And now so do you." I ignore them as Reckless Raymond runs up with a six-pack of Lone Star in his hands. Wojciech sees it and makes a beeline for Reckless Raymond. RR sets the six-pack on the ground. Wojciech grabs one, bites the top off, and begins drinking it. I look around and get a hell of an idea and suggest, we have enough people and vehicles now, we can have a decoy car in front of our convoy. We'll take the best of the roadblock trucks, and if one of these women can drive worth a shit, then we will go first. The lady who told me I smelled sasses, "I can drive better than most men, but if you're riding with me, we're keeping the windows rolled down, and we're not taking the bear." I look over and see Wojciech is downing his fourth beer and say, "That's okay, he's not a zoo bear anymore. Plus he gets rowdy when he gets more than one beer." One of the ladies interrupts, just like a man. They all giggle, but I ignore the comment and add, "Yeah, he's a wild bear and needs to stay in the woods." Well, let's get the hell out of here. The other trucks come up. I clean up the bodies, making sure the women stay back, find the best-looking truck, look around, and only see the one lady. I motion to her. She comes up, and I ask, "Where are your friends?" She answers, "They are in the trucks with the drivers." I was told your handle is TA for Trucker's Angel. My name is Rita, and my handle is Speed Freak. I doubtfully question the origin of her handle because of her size. I hope that's not because you use narcotics? She laughs, "Hell no. It's because of the way I drive." We jump in the pickup. She looks at me and declares, "I wasn't kidding. You need to roll down that window." Then she floors it and smokes the tires. Present, TA, Trucker's Angel, Ben. Trip from Dallas to Austin the next morning, outskirts of Austin. Damn, what a hell of a time getting from Dallas to Austin. I couldn't believe that there were 4 roadblocks in a couple hundred miles. It was a stroke of genius on my part having a spotter car. It was even better that Speed Freak was driving, since she was a hell of a driver and seemed to intuitively know what I wanted her to do. We kicked some serious butt and took names. There were rumors there was a 5th roadblock that heard about us and just took off. We pull into a truck stop leading the convoy, which by now had grown from 4 trucks to 10 trucks. The semis blow their horns. The other truckers boil out of the truck stop and are clapping, cheering, and waving. Speed Freak looks at me and says, "Looks like you're a hero, TA." I look at her and order, "Get me the hell out of here." She grins, "Your wish is my command." She punches the pickup and lays rubber all the way out of the parking lot. She questions, "Where do you want to go?" I'm looking at Austin. God, it's been forever since I've been here. Shit. I was just out of high school touring with the band, got in the bar fight, and got railroaded into the Marines. Austin isn't the Austin I remember. It doesn't have that shine it used to have. But then it, and all of Texas and the southern states, especially southwestern states, have gone through hell from the repeated attacks across the porous border. And the inept government hasn't done anything to improve the border. They sit in Washington and issue meaningless threats that are ignored. Yeah, we have the weapons to end this war, but I'm snapped out of my thoughts when Rita asks again, "Where would you like to go?" A sign catches my eye, so I point and say, "Believe it or not, I want to go there." She looks at me and questions, "Are you sure you want to go there?" I nod my head. Yeah, that's exactly where I want to go. She giggles. I never took you for being one of them. But then you haven't hit on me once during this trip, so I guess now I know why. I give her a dirty look and declare, screw you. I'm not gay and never will be. And to be truthful, you're a nice enough woman, but you're not my type. I like my women not quite so Rubenesque. So drive me there, and then get the hell out of my life. I know I insulted her, but damn it, I don't let anyone call me gay. At least it shut her the hell up, which is an almost impossible thing to do to a woman. We arrive at the place. I grab my gear, jump out of the pickup, she floors it and smokes the tires as she flies up the street. I look around, walk up to the door, open it, walk into the theater, and take a seat in the back. Present, Byron, Tom, and Inga, on a charter jet headed towards Venezuela the next day. I wake up and look around for Tom, but I don't see him. All I see is Inga sleeping under a blanket in the back of the plane. I need to take care of my morning needs, so I walk to the head and find it's locked. I rattle the knob and hear Tom yell, "Go the hell away and leave me alone." I chuckle. Tom was so pissed at Inga that he slept in the head last night. I knock again and say, "Listen, I need to get in there, so open up or I'm going to break down the damn door." Tom opens the door, peeks out and whispers, "Where is she?" I say, "She's sleeping like a baby in the seats." He opens the door the whole way and I have to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. He looks like 100 miles of bad road. I question, "Are you going to move?" He moves out of the way and finally I get to start my morning needs. Now that is something. Imagine Tom not sleeping with a woman. Is he sick? Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I had some issues tonight with the report from Russia. It didn't seem like Sergeant Reynolds wrote his part since the style was different. But there were bigger fish to fry right now because it looked like all hell was breaking loose in Russia. Troop transports were headed out of Moscow at an alarming rate. I ordered, "Get me a news feed and a translator." It looked like a major deployment of troops was underway. I only hoped my 2 SGTs were invited. I barked another order, "Plot the path of those transport planes." The plots appeared on the monitors. I watched and wondered, noticed they are headed slightly southeast into the Caucasus region. Shit, that's been a hotbed of contention forever in Russia. The news feed was on, and it looked like chaos. I rubbed my chin and yelled, "Where's that damn translator?" Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. I was sleeping great until Masha yelled, "Jack, honey, wake up." I wandered over, noticed Masha was shaking and crying and asked, "Masha, is something wrong?" Masha questioned, "Honey, you told me you were working with the Spetsnaz. What was the name of your team?" I replied, "Team Vimple. Why do you ask?" She turned, had a very sad look on her face, and stated, "Jack, my love, you might be in trouble." Not sure what I had done other than play hooky with her all day, I shook my head to clear the cobwebs and asked, "Masha, I don't know what has you all worked up, so tell me." She states, "Oh Jack, it's terrible. Your team has been sent into the field." I exclaim, "What? Team Vimple has been deployed?" Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. I needed to be strong to support my Jack and advised, "Jack, we need to turn on the television and I will try to explain to you what happened. But first we must dress." I turned on the television, found my clothes. Jack found his, and we sat on the couch. Jack asked, "Masha, what are they talking about?" I tried to explain, "My love, today is the first day of September. In Russia this is called First Bell, or Knowledge Day. It is the start of the school year, and all the children and many of the parents look forward to this day all summer long." He interrupted me. "Masha, are you telling me the children in Russia like to go to school?" I patted his hand and continued, "Yes, Jack, most of them do. In Russia, education is very important for our future. Now please do not interrupt. It looks like something very bad has happened in the small town of Beslan, which is located in North Ossetia. We do not have any details, yet however they are sending many troops there." Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. I remembered the maps of Russia I studied and realized that North Ossetia is in the Caucasus region. I look at Masha and interrupted, "It must be the Chechens." I'm shocked when she mocks spitting on the floor and declares, "Jack, your assumptions are probably correct. They have many Islamic suicide groups that have even attacked innocent people here in Moscow." I look at Masha and state, "Damn it, Masha, I need to find out if they took Ben with them." I pull out my mobile phone, call his phone, but I don't get an answer. Flashback, Ben, on flight. I finish my crappy dinner while completing my report to Major M. I thought I did a great job faking Jack's part. I hadn't cleaned up when there was a knock on my door, and Yuri, my Spetsnaz contact, yelled, "Ben, come immediately. We have a mission." I ran to the door, threw it open, and he walked in. I went after my bug-out bag and asked, "What's going on?" He stated, "That is not for me to know, but it must be big. Where is Sergeant Reynolds?" I lied through my teeth. "Damn him. He's sick and I think he's at the hospital." Yuri replied, "We do not have time to wait for him." With my bag in hand, we ran down the stairs to a waiting truck. The driver drove worse than the normal Moscow maniacs, so I knew this had to be important. I glanced around. No one was talking, and in typical Russian fashion, no one smiled. I followed their lead. We arrived at the airfield, loaded into a transport, and I was shocked at the sheer number of weapons and supplies aboard. Finally, the captain stood up and gave a mission briefing. Today at 0930 hours, an armed group of unknown size from the AITA Salihin Brigade of Martyrs seized control and are occupying School Number 1 in Beslan, North Ossetia. Because today is the first day of school, many parents were there with their children. Yuri swore. Screw it all. Load of bullshit. The captain continued. There have already been casualties. Our job is to secure the perimeter while we try to negotiate with them. What the hell? Negotiate with them? Whose moronic idea was this? These were some of the worst terrors in the world, and you don't negotiate with terrors. You kill the scumsuckers. I stood up and shouted, excuse me. You can't negotiate with these scumsuckers. They are terrors, and we need to kill all the scumsuckers we can as soon as we can before they kill all the hostages. All the men shouted in agreement. It made me feel good. The captain held up his hands, glared at me, realized who I was, and ordered, Sergeant Sarakov, Yuri, sit our visitor down and inform him he is only here as an observer. Any further outbursts by him, and he will be left on the aircraft. Yuri pulled me down in my seat as the captain continued. I looked at Yuri and asked, what sort of screwed-up plan is this, negotiating with terrorists? He shushed me. Been in the Russian army, we do not question our superiors. I stated, well, your superiors are as screwed in the head as our superiors. They are making a huge mistake, and someone needs to tell them. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. I didn't get an answer on Ben's phone, so I tried it again, but still no answer. I looked at Masha and said, Masha, I think Ben is with them. I need to get my butt to Beslan. She sadly shook her head and said, Jack, my only love, this is Russia, and there is no way we can get you to Beslan. Not now, not with what is happening there. I complained, shit, Masha, I really screwed up this time. Ben might need me. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. Jack, my Jack, was extremely upset. There was no way to get him to Beslan, but I did know a doctor that for a quantity of rubles would give him a certificate that proved he was sick. But primarily, I needed to compose my man. I began to kiss him, and it had the desired effect of distracting his attention from his problems. However, this time I could not concentrate because of the television reports. Finally, we rolled on top of the remote, and the television went dead. Now I could concentrate on relaxation techniques. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. The damn translator showed up, listened for a couple minutes, and stated, Sir, terrors have seized a school in Beslan, North Ossetia, but so far there is very little in the way of details. I ordered, I want updates as more information is supplied. Sergeant, with me in my office. The translator answered, Sir, this is Russia, and I doubt we will receive any more updates. We got to my office and sat. I rubbed my hands and hoped, Sergeant, this could really help me get back in the old man's good graces. He added, Yes, sir, but how do you know Sergeant Blaine and Sergeant Reynolds are with their Spetsnaz team? I looked at the sergeant. That was the $64 million question. But with these SGTS, I was sure they were a big enough pain in the butt they deployed with their team. I decided it was time to call the old man and deliver what I hoped wasn't premature good news. First, I needed to get my sergeant to do something. I ordered, Sergeant, I'm going to be on the phone. Go see if the translator has any new news. Flashback, young Yentz, at home. I was walking through the living room when the phone rang and I answered it. Donaldson Residence, Jennifer speaking. My heart skipped a little when I heard, Miss Donaldson, this is the major, might I please speak with the general? Yes, it was the mean major that worked for Ben. I was upset that Daddy assigned Ben to him because he was strange and did strange things. I stated, Daddy, the major is on the phone for you. He questioned, the major? Which damn major? There must be several hundred majors in the Corps. I stamped my foot a little, not so much as to get Daddy angry, and replied, you know the major. Though Daddy could be so dense sometimes. He got out of his chair, walked over, took the phone, and waved his hand at me to leave. There was no way in heck I wasn't listening in on this phone call. Not only did I leave, I made a beeline for my room, and when I ran past Mom, she yelled, Jennifer, young ladies do not run in the house. I sassed under my breath, good thing I'm not a young lady. I got to my room, slowly and carefully picked up my camo. You all do remember I painted my phone, don't you? Princess phoned just in time to hear the major. He crowed like a rooster to Daddy. Yes, sir. It looks like there's a hostage situation in Russia, and while I can't be 100% certain, I think Sergeant Blaine and Sergeant Reynolds are with their Spetsnaz team. Daddy answered, okay, Major, if they were deployed with their team, this will be an excellent opportunity for us to observe Russian Spec Op troops in action. I expect a full report from you tomorrow concerning this. Now this sounded peculiar. Something happened in Russia. I majorly hated the Major for sending my Ben there to be tempted by all those beautiful Russian women, and it sounded like Ben was going to be right in the middle of it. That made me happy since he would at least be away from the female dog Russian women. I slowly hung up the phone as Daddy hung up the phone, went to my computer, and tried to figure out what was happening in Russia. Flashback, Ira and Mira, in Israel. While relocating our domicile, I could not alleviate the awareness things were not copacetic. I glanced at Mira and questioned, Marinka, do you? She completed, yes, Irinka, I cognate the equivalent consciousness. Yes, someone oculated us. I cursed, male offspring of a female Saluki. Our handler performed a grievous error and was followed to our previous domicile. I will terminate his remorseful derriere for his imprudence. Mira reminded, but first my sister we must escape. Yes, my sister was correct. Then I developed a devastating conclusion. Present, Samantha, the next morning in the search for Linus' team. It took most of the rest of the night to get to the truck stop where Linus and his team had a shootout. The place is still crawling with police and truckers. I look at Frank and suggest, it might be better for right now if only you accompany me. My loving husband argues, I don't know about that. I explain, I think that Linus's team has this place stirred up like an angry hornet's nest. They got in a shootout, and I sure don't want that happening to us. Emmanuel offers a plan. Sam, we will drop you and Frank here, and then we will head up the road and drop some men who will sneak back here to cover you. I like the sound of that, so I smile and answer, that's a great idea. I look over and notice Miss Prima Donna is throwing a huge fit. I ask, if we take your gag out, do you promise not to scream? When she nods her head, Emmanuel removes the gag and the bitch complains, I need to pee and check on the horses. I glare at her and demand, didn't you just get done peeing? She swears, look, I'm pregnant and I have to pee all the time. I feel a little sorry for her and relent. Emmanuel, when you drop the men off, let her out so she can pee. She annoyingly reminds me, and check the horses. I glare and add, yes, and let her check the horses. She pushes my damn buttons one more time. I thought you were going to let me go once you got here. I angrily reply, I said we'd let you go when we found our team. Does it look like we've found our team yet? She complains some more, this is kidnapping. My loving husband Frank intervenes before I slap the shit out of her. He again explains, as I said before, that's your word against all of ours. Come on honey, let's go. Frank and I leave for the truck stop to see if we can get any information without making things worse. Present, Stacy, in the news van. I can't believe that after all I've been through, I'm being kidnapped by the damn Truth Network. I should have capped that bony bitches, but when I had the chance. That's okay because they sure as hell don't know who they're messing with. We continue up the road. They pull over to the side and Emmanuel orders, untie her, let her check on the horses, and then pee. But make sure you watch her. I've rubbed my wrists raw trying to escape, but he tied me too well for me to get away. It does feel great when my arms are finally loose. He leads me to the back of the horse trailer. I open the door, step inside, and question, it's pretty small in here, but you're welcome to come in and watch me. But I won't be responsible if one of the horses steps on your foot. He looks at me, then answers, I'll just wait out here. Which is exactly what I hoped he would do. Present, Samantha, at the truck stop. We gradually start building some rapport with the deputies and the truckers when all hell breaks loose. Present, Jens, PT the next morning at the cabin. What a hell of a terrible night. We never did hear back from Sam or Linus' team. I know I didn't sleep worth shit. Everyone is here for PT except for the twins and their scumsucker brother. Shit. If it's not one group, it's another. I begin to return to the house and gather them for PT when they walk out the door and my mouth practically hits the floor. I look at them and question, what are you three wearing? Liz turns, sees them and questions, Mira and Ira, should I be wearing my body armor? One of the twins responds, affirmative, Ms. Morgan, that might be prudent. Liz takes off running back into the house, and I remember Liz telling me about this high-tech body armor of theirs. But what really has me worried are the number of weapons they are carrying. I continue my questions to the twins. Is there something we should know? One of them responds, we cannot cognate what is currently contained in your cranial carapace, so that question has no relevancy. I motion to Jack. He comes over, and I ask his advice. Jack, what's your take on this? He looks at the twins and their mini brother Alexei and declares, well, I don't know about you, but I'm getting a rifle. He looks at his family and revises his statement. Hell, I'm getting 2 rifles. I order, okay, everyone other than Yasmin and Zarika, fall out, get a rifle, and meet back here in 5 minutes. Zarika runs up and asks, Nice lady, I know well how to shoot rifle. Ben taught me. Please might I carry a rifle too? I glare at her and demand, only if you promise not to shoot Yasmin with it. She looks frightened and promises, oh no, nice lady, I never play game with guns. I grab her hand, and we head inside where I find rifles for both of us. We grab our rifles and head back outside. I look at everyone, and except for Yasmin, we look like a small army. Oh well, I always wanted to add carrying weapons to our PT. I begin our exercises. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei, PT the next morning at the cabin. Ms. Donaldson very wisely decides the group should be armed. We commence our exercises, and Alexei states, "My sisters, you perceive that when we arrived at PT with combat equipment, then Ms. Donaldson would surmise everyone required combat equipment." I reply, "Yes, Alexei, that is correct." However, she does not yet perceive the real danger and still did not adequately prepare. Ira interjects, "Just remember our assignments today. Alexei, after today you will have." She never completes her vocalization because all Hades commences earlier than anticipated, and we accordingly hurtle into the engagement. Present, Ben, Austin, Texas. After the hell of a night I had, fatigue set in and I start drifting off when the janitor comes by and asks, "What are you doing here?" I yawn and answer, "I just got into town from the Dallas area and thought I would listen to the rehearsals before I find someplace to stay." He looks at me, notices all my gear and questions, "Are you the one that shot the hell out of all the roadblocks?" I reply with a question, "How did you hear about that?" He laughs, "Shit, it was you. I can tell by your answer. I have a police scanner and heard about how you handed those scumsuckers their butts. You're welcome to stay here, but I doubt you will like the rehearsals." He piqued my curiosity. "Why's that?" He answers, "Oh, you'll see." He leaves, and I wonder what the hell could go wrong with these rehearsals. Present, Byron, Tom, and Inga, on a charter jet headed towards Venezuela the next day. I finish my morning duties, come out of the head, and almost laugh my butt off. Inga has Tom all but cornered in the back of the plane. I stop and admire the view. After all, it's not every day I get to see a sexy as hell woman in just her panties. Tom notices I'm out of the head, flies past her, returns to the head, slams the door, and locks it. Inga turns toward me. I get an eyeful, and she states, "Well, Mr. Byron, perhaps you would like to?" I interrupt, "Inga, I'm sorry, but I'm too old for you." The pilot announces the plane is landing. Inga finds her cloths and puts them on while Tom stays locked in the head. I lean back in my seat with a big smile. So far, this trip has been great fun for me. Flashback, Ben, with Team Vimple. The plane started its descent when the captain motioned to Yuri. He walked over, and as they talked, they glanced at me, and without hearing, I could tell it was about me. Yuri regained his seat beside me, and I asked, "Yuri, what did the captain want?" Yuri shook his head and replied, "At first he wanted to leave you on the plane, but I persuaded him to let you come observe, but you have to remain with me." I thought to myself that there is no way they were going to keep me on this plane. I smiled at Yuri and thanked him. "Thank you for standing up for me." He answered, "We all agree with the way you feel, but we cannot say anything about it." The plane landed at Vladikavkaz Airport, and we jumped into action. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. Masha was a hell of a woman and did a great job distracting me, but I knew it was time to pay the piper. I got up, grabbed my computer, and Masha immediately questioned, "Jack, my love, what are you doing?" I smiled at her and said, "Well, I need to let the major know I missed getting deployed with Team Vimple." She got a concerned look on her face and asked, "What will you tell him?" I dejectedly shook my head. I was going to tell him I was sick, but I don't have any proof. She smiled and offered, "Jack, do not contact him until I return. I will obtain a report from the hospital which states you had a severe case of food poisoning. We will scan the report and include it in your transmission." She jumped up, started to dress. God, I love to watch her move. She pecked me on the cheek as she left. I looked around, but was concerned about Ben. I called his phone twice more without an answer, so I made a quick decision. Flashback, Ben Beslin. We arrived at the school, and things were not running like a well-oiled machine. In fact, they were royally screwed. If this was how they responded to a crisis, then I could see how the Moscow theater hostage crisis in 2002 at the Dubrovka Theater had ended up being such a huge cluster shit. 129 hostages died. It was the typical case of too many officers and not enough intelligence. I have often wondered whether when you get more officers together it has a decreasing effect on intelligence. I stood and listened to the officers arguing with each other for about 10 minutes without being distracted by the cries coming from the school. How the hell could they ignore the cries? Yuri was by my side. I looked at him and stated, "Screw this shit, Yuri. I'm going to see what the hell is going on in the school." Yuri grabbed my arm. "Ben, do not get me in trouble." I snatched my arm away and argued, "Yuri, I have to do something. You can either follow me or report me." He wisely stated, "I will follow you unless you do something totally foolish." We moved closer to the school, and I swore, "Yuri, look at the bodies outside of the school. Those scumsuckers have already killed people and your officers aren't doing anything about it." Yuri answered, "What can we do?" I went into my go bag, pulled out my periscope, and said, "I'm going to recon to see what's going on. How about letting me have your AK?" Yuri stated, "Ben, you cannot do this. You will be caught. And I cannot let you have a weapon. You are only an observer." I laughed. "Yuri, the day I can't sneak up on a school like this is the day I turn in my hog's tooth and become REMF." Since you won't give me a weapon, at least cover me. I didn't wait for a reply and headed toward the school. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. I found the way back to my old apartment. Went in, but it was dark. There was Ben's cell phone on the table along with dirty dishes. This wasn't like him at all. He always cleaned up after himself. I went into his room and checked, noticed his go bag was gone, and my heart sank. Yes, he deployed without me. I walked out of his room, cleaned up the mess he left, and headed back to my new apartment. I felt like shit for not being there for Ben. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. I experienced no problems obtaining the medical report I needed since the doctor owed me a favor, plus I expended some additional currency. However, I still had the issues of my feelings toward Jack. My superiors were going to commence asking for information soon, and I had decided that Jack was more important than, well, anything else. There was no way I could ever ask him about any secrets. In fact, I required some method to resign my job. But that is an even larger problem. How do you resign from a position as a spy? I pondered this almost insurmountable problem as I returned to our apartment. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. Good. I beat Masha back to the apartment. I fired up the laptop, looked at the report Ben sent, and shit. He screwed up. I could tell he tried to make it sound like me, but he didn't do a very good job. I was sure the major would figure this out since he was damn smart for an officer. As I waited for Masha to get back, an encoded message arrived from the major. I started the decryption program, which took forever, and waited for Masha. I was concerned that if the major found out I missed being deployed, he might bring me back to the States, and that's the last place I wanted to go right now. Masha came in, smiled at me, ran into my arms, and kissed the hell out of me. She said, "Jack, I have the medical report." I swatted her sexy bottom and said, "Good girl. Now let me hook up the scanner, make a file of it, and send it to the major." I finished hooking up the scanner, started scanning the document while the encryption program finished. I read it, gulped, and said, "The major is asking if we were deployed with Team Vimple and also why my part of the report was so strange tonight." Masha smiled and stated, "Jack, this is not an immense issue. I will assist you." Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I was anxious as hell. I sent the message to the SGTS in Moscow and hoped to not hear back from them, because that would mean they had deployed with their team. In the meantime, I decided to watch the reports from Russia, which were scattered, inconclusive, and chaotic. This looked like it was going to be a huge mess and wondered what the hell our government would do if this happened in America. Yeah, I'd read all the action plans we had for situations like this, but the results were always pretty damn bleak. My computer dinged. Shit. A reply to my email to the SGTS was being decrypted. I sure as hell didn't want to tell the old man that the SGTS didn't deploy with their team. While I waited for it to decrypt, an email came in from my Mossad contact, and it was more bad news. The Sedankina bitches had told him to tell me to put Baskerville up my alimentary canal, and then almost killed him. Shit. When it rains, it pours. Flashback, Ben Beslin. I crept up to the school through the mass of dead bodies, slipped my periscope up to the window, and couldn't see jack shit. Suddenly, I was thankful as all hell the scumsuckers had the shades pulled. Yes, I was thankful because the noises I heard were bad enough. You can't disguise the sound of women and girls being assaulted. The sick scumsuckers. I dropped back against the building and tried to decide what the hell to do. I didn't have a weapon, so rushing them would be certain suicide, so I decided to see if I could beat some sense into the officers. I crawled back to Yuri and said, "Yuri, the scumsuckers killed what looks to be all the able-bodied men and are assaulting the women and girls. We need to do something quickly." He said, "Ben, we need to go and talk to the officers, but let me do that talking." We headed over to talk with the officers. Flashback, Ira and Mira, in Israel. We quickly traversed into a side street with many markets and disoriented potential followers by dispersing ourselves in the throng. I whispered, "Marinka, we need to find someone approximately my size." She replied, "Irinka, there is a suitable candidate." I fetched, "Marinka, my derriere is not that rotund." Mira giggled, "Irinka, when we acquire our burkas, no one will be able to determine the magnitude of our derrieres." We approached the target. Threats were enunciated, and she was more than happy to comply with our wishes. She and Mira left under the cover of the burkas while I oculated their departure. Yes, I was correct. Present, Samantha, at the truck stop. We gradually start building some rapport with the deputies and the truckers when all hell breaks loose. The damn prima donna bitch rides up on one of her horses and begins to yell, "It's a trap! It's a trap! They are after Ben, your trucker's angel." That lights a fire under the truckers, and the next thing we know, present, Stacy, escaped. The stupid guy they had guarding me didn't pay enough attention to the inside of the trailer, which is what I hoped for. I slowly slipped the saddle on Patches, and I even had room in the trailer to get on her back. Then we lit out like our butts were on fire as I headed towards the truck stop and a date with that bony bitch. I rode up where the skeletal skank was talking to some people and began to yell, "It's a trap! It's a trap! They are after Ben, your trucker's angel." I smile as the truckers pulled their guns and trained them on the Samantha and her husband. I move closer and taunt, well, who is holding who hostage now? One of the truckers demands, "Just who the hell are you?" I reply, "I am Stacy Summers, the billionaire heiress who was traveling with Ben, your trucker's angel." That is, I was with him until these two and their team chased him off. Another trucker questioned, "What team?" Then they found out all about the team. Present, Samantha, at the truck stop. We are thoroughly screwed. Stacy somehow escaped and alerted the truckers to who we are and what we're doing, and now we're the prisoners. She grins at me and says, "So bitch, how?" She never gets to finish because Emmanuel drives up in the van. The team boils out, and the next thing I know, Frank has me in his lap, and we are rolling away like crazy as bullets are flying everywhere. Then something totally shocking happens. Present, Stacy, at the truck stop. There's no way in hell that bony bitch is escaping. Her husband has her in his lap and is rolling towards the van. I giddy up Patches. We catch them, and I make Patches bump the hell out of the wheelchair, which sends them flying. I laugh as they roll on the ground, but my laughter is short-lived when the bony bitch's husband points a pistol at me and yells, "I've had enough of your shit." My short life begins to pass before my eyes as I hear his pistol bark, and then, present, Jens, PT, the next morning at the cabin. After seeing what the twins and their nasty brother are wearing and carrying, we all head back to the cabin for weapons. We just start our PT when the twins give some sort of weird cry and begin to fire their weapons. Their fire is returned, and the next thing I know, we are in an all-out firefight. I run for cover. Note that Alexei grabs Ivan and heads towards the house, and realize that cover sounds like the best idea to me, so I yell, "Retreat to the house." Yasmin runs like crazy toward the house. Zarika falls in beside me and declares, "Jennifer lady, I will help you to cover while others get to the house." Jack and Masha make it to the house, then I order, "Come on, Zarika, it's our turn. We will fall back together." Then Zarika surprises the hell out of me. Present, Ben, Austin, Texas. The rehearsals start, and where else in Texas other than Austin could you hear an opera? The very famous Tchaikovsky opera Eugene Onegin, presented not in English, but in Russian. They start at Act 1, Scene 1, where the Laren sisters, Olga and Tatiana, sing while their mother and the maid Filipievna listen. I'm impressed with the quality of the singers, and it's every bit as good as the Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg, Russia. They are so good, they must be native Russians. Thoughts and memories of my time in Russia flood back into my mind. Things are going great until he comes onto the stage. I don't know where in the hell they found the singer playing Eugene Onegin, but he makes an obvious mistake in his part, stops, and begins to throw a fit at Tatiana. "You stupid bitch, you made me miss my line again." I watch as she stands there with her head lowered and takes the abuse. Her face flushes, and she begins to slightly cry. I decide to do something about it, so I stand up, walk toward the stage, begin to clap and yell, "Tatiana, you were great." The pompous a-hole who is playing Yevgeny, Eugene in Russian, who can also barely sing, missed his line and blames it on you. There is a collective gasp from the players and the orchestra. Then Yevgeny proves he is not only an a-hole, he is a stupid a-hole. He storms off the stage screaming, "I don't have to take this sort of abuse." The conductor orders, "Get back here, or you're fired." He shouts back, "You can't fire me, I quit." Their argument continues as Tatiana comes over to the edge of the stage and says, with a definite Russian accent, "Thank you for having the courage to say what no one else would. You are my knight in shining armor." I reply in Russian, "I'm not a knight, just a former musician who appreciates good music." Her face lights up when she hears the Russian. She is ready to reply when the conductor storms over and yells, "Just who the hell are you, and why are you in a close practice? You must know you've cost me a whole day of practice." I look at him, look at Tatiana, and I make a decision. Present, Byron, on a chartered jet headed towards Venezuela. Yes, Tom is still locked in the head as we land. Inga is in the back row of seats and reminds me of a cougar waiting to pounce. This has been a fun trip. Tom likes women, but only when he can chase them. Once they start chasing him, he takes off like a scalded dog. The plane touches down and Inga announces, "Tom, you must come out of the water closet so we can leave together." The door slowly opens, Tom steps out, and Inga grabs his hand and orders, "Hurry, we must make haste." They sprint past me. I jump out of my seat, but barely manage to keep up with them. We run down the stairs and into a waiting car. Then I can't believe what Inga does. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I was still waiting for the message from the SGTS to decode when I received another email from my Mossad contact, and I about crapped my pants. He informed me that one of our communication devices had been found by the Sedankina bitches. They turned it over to their handler, who was almost killed by the auto-destruct mechanism. It was too bad it wasn't the Sedankina monsters who were injured. The email from the SGTS finally showed up. At least it was somewhat good news. Sergeant Reynolds was sick and didn't deploy, but since he couldn't find Sergeant Blaine, he assumed Blaine deployed with his team. I called a translator in to make sense of what looked to be a medical report. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. Masha was a great help with falsifying my report. She even suggested I use the illness to cover the fact that my part of the report didn't sound normal. We were lying together holding each other, and I worried since she appeared to be a better liar than most women. I sure as hell hoped she wasn't lying to me. Shit, what was I doing? I think I was actually falling. Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. It was wonderful lying in Jack's arms, but I could tell he was somewhat troubled. I noticed it right after the report was submitted, and I wondered if he knew I had lied to him. I was really caught in the middle of a stone and a rigid structure. Once lying commenced, one had to prolong the lies or things frayed like inexpensive cloth. I slowly slipped off to sleep and considered how I might extricate myself from this problem. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. Damn, I hated nights like this. Some thoughts flooded through my mind. First was the woman in my arms. Yeah, I was in love with her. I didn't want to leave her, but I knew what that meant. Life was going to get complicated. No, very complicated for me. Next were thoughts of Ben. I should have been with him to help keep him in line. Third, I considered the major. I was sure he was going to be a major pain over all of this. While trying to manage my thoughts, I snuggled closer to Masha and slowly drifted off to sleep. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. The translator confirmed the records were medical reports, and they stated that Sergeant Reynolds had a severe case of food poisoning. Then I went back to try and determine what was happening in Russia. Despite my efforts, nothing firm seemed to make itself known. I leaned back in my chair and once again thought about the whole Baskerville quandary. If my staff sergeant was right and SGTS, Reynolds and Blaine were knee-deep in whole affair, and since Sergeant Reynolds didn't deploy, I could bring him back to America to grill him about it. I replied to Sergeant Reynolds' email and grinned. He wasn't going to like it. Flashback, Jens. OMG. I figured out what was going on in Russia. Terrors, not separatists like the lying news liked to call them, had taken over a school and were holding everyone hostage. I sure didn't like the sound of this and was very worried for my Ben. I needed to go on the offensive and find out exactly where my Ben was and what he was doing. I sent an email to all my computer friends. There were computers to be hacked. Then I pulled a picture of Brittany's cat off the net, added a payload to the alternate data stream, renamed the file Brittany's_pussy.jpg, sent another email to my hacker friends, and told them not to open the picture, but to upload it to as many sites as they could and sent them the doctored picture. Then I sat back and waited. Sooner or later we would have the access we needed. Flashback, Ben Beslin. Damn it all. It sucked. I was being held in detention on the plane. Oh, Yuri and I went to the officers and told them what I heard, and once again I was sold down the river. Yuri pussyfooted around, and finally I had enough of that. Got in the general's face, called him a bunch of names, and then clocked him. I was hauled off in shackles to the plane, and Yuri was banished to be my keeper. Yuri sat on the bench across from me, shook his head, and said, "Well, Ben, this is a fine mess that you've gotten both of us in." I responded, "Come on, Yuri, you know what I wanted to do was right. We need to storm the school and kill all the scumsuckers." He shook his head. "This country cannot afford another Dubrovka theater. I was there, and more hostages were killed by the gas than by the terrors." I complained. "So we sit idly by while the terrors have their way? That isn't right." Yuri shrugged and answered dejectedly, "And my friend, what are we to do? We are only two men." I prodded, "Well, at least I'm a man. You sold us out to the officers." He stood up and yelled, "Take that back, or I will beat you senseless." I grinned and taunted, "I'm your huckleberry." He stood, walked toward me, raised his rifle to beat me with it. I did a leg sweep and knocked his butt to the deck of the plane. His head bounced so hard for a moment I thought I had killed him, but then he moved and moaned a little. Time was of the essence, so I worked my hands around in my pockets, pulled out a paper clip, opened up one end, inserted it halfway into the key slot of the cuffs, bent the end of the paper clip slightly towards the cuffs. Then I inserted it into the keyhole vertically, twisted it, and the cuff popped open. I searched Yuri, found the key, and unlocked the other cuff. Then I cuffed him to the side of the plane and covered his mouth with some tape. I grabbed his AK-74, an extra mag, my bug-out bag, and slipped out of the plane into the night. Yes, I was going to do something. I just wasn't sure what yet. Flashback, Mira and Ira, in Israel. I acquired my burqa and lead our forced cohort along through the streets. I did not like being the bait in this rodent trap. However, I cognate that Ira's special skills were the ones which were presently required. We turned purposefully down an alley with no exit, and then slowed our progress. Yes, my sister Mira did precisely what I wanted. They moved to a dark alley, away from the throng, and then slowed. I watched as the assassins approached my sister and our unwilling accomplice and knew it was time to act. What in Hades? Where was my sister Ira? Why didn't she attack? I heard the familiar sound of a pistol being cocked, grabbed my unwilling accomplice around the neck, rotated with her person between us and the assassins just as they commenced fire. I felt the bullets impact her body. I withdrew my pistol, returned fire, and unfortunately for them, they did not have a human shield. But where was my sister Ira? Flashback, Ben Beslin. Shit. I couldn't believe what a huge cluster shit this was. I put on my ghillie suit, modified it with some of the local vegetation, and because the perimeter was so porous, I slipped right past the sentries and headed toward the school. I knew the terrors had rigged the school with bombs, bunch of self-righteous cowards, so breaching the school was out of the question. What I needed was a vantage point as close to the school as possible. I began to circle the perimeter, and finally, I saw a tree that should have been cut down years ago. I inched my way closer, and flashback, Ben Beslin, minutes later. I couldn't believe it. The major was going to shit his pants when I told him how I breached the perimeter and climbed up into a tree without being seen. But I was still screwed because even from here I couldn't see into the school. In fact, it was even worse, because I could hear the cries of the children as they were being abused. This didn't work at all. I was no better up this tree than I was when I was beside the school. Hey, that gave me an idea. Present, Stacy, at the truck stop. I commit a minor tactical error when I knock the skeletal skank and her husband to the ground. He pulls his pistol, gives me an evil grin, and yells, "I've had enough of your shit." My short life begins to pass before my eyes as I hear his pistol bark, and then, Bo jumps in front of me. The bullet hits him, and he crumples to the ground. I ignore everything else, jump off Patches and run to his side. Present, Samantha, at the truck stop. I can't believe my loving husband was going to shoot the prima donna bitch. We are soon going to have a talk about this later because that would have been a huge mistake. We were lucky because one of the horses jumped between the bullet and Stacy. Frank roughly grabs me, shakes me, and demands, "Honey, we need to get into the van." I don't recognize the man that just manhandled me, so I pull away, cry and demand, "Frank, get the hell out of here and leave me the hell alone." I watch his mouth fall open with surprise, and he declares, "I'm not leaving you alone." I stand up, put my hands on my hips, and affirm, "I'm not leaving, Stacy, so you can either leave or stay with me and help." Frank makes his decision and yells, "Emmanuel, we're staying." I finally take my eyes off Stacy and the wounded horse hero and realize we are completely surrounded. There's only one thing I can do. Present, Stacy, at the truck stop. I am holding my hand over the wound in Bo's side, but the blood keeps coming out. Then the most surprising thing happens. The skeletal skank. No, that's not right any longer. Samantha is beside me, and she orders, "Someone call the best damn vet in the area." I look at her and see tears in her eyes as she apologizes. "Stacy, I'm so sorry this happened. I don't know what came over my husband. Please forgive me." I shake my head and threaten, "Well, your husband just shot Ben's horse that he loved more than he loved me. If this horse dies, I would hate to be you, your husband, or his family, because Ben will take retribution." The scumsucker that shot Bo rolls up and asks, "Is there anything that I can do?" I glare at him and swear, "I think you've done more than enough by shooting Ben's horse." I hear someone in the crowd yell, "We string up people that shoot horses in Texas." Someone else adds, "Especially when it's the horse that belongs to our trucker's angel." Present, Frank, at the truck stop. Shit, I made a hell of a tactical error. When Stacy knocked us out of my wheelchair, I overreacted and tried to shoot her. I know what the real problem is. Even though I can't walk, when I'm in my chair I feel that I can handle most situations. It's probably because I have a bunch of weapons hidden in my chair. You never attack a man in a wheelchair. Ben's damn horse jumped in front of the shot, which was a good thing because it would have been even worse if I had shot Stacy. But now I have an angry mob I need to deal with. Even with all the weapons I have, many people, including my wife, might get hurt. So I make a decision. I hold up my hands and offer, "Listen, if Ben's horse dies, I will gladly let you string me up. But all this fighting right now is counterproductive. Someone go in the truck stop and bring me a bunch of damn diapers." Someone smart mouths, "What happened? Did you crap your pants?" I state, "Hell no. I'm going to use them to help stop the bleeding. Now get the damn diapers and call the damn vet." I roll over to the horse and slide out of my chair beside the horse. I look at my wife and Stacy and order, "Give me some room and I will save his life." Someone runs up and hands me the diapers. I rip open the package, place one over the wound, and press as hard as I can. The horse begins to move, so I command, "Stacy, calm this damn horse so he doesn't move." She drops beside his head, begins talking to him, glares at me and states, "His name is Bo, and he hates to be called a damn horse." I continue pressing and say, "Come on, Bo, hold on." Someone yells, the vet is on his way. Present, Emmanuel, on the road. It is hard as hell leaving my brother Frank and his wife Sam. But I know my brother, and I also know he is a survivor. Many lesser men would have given up and died with what he had already suffered. But he rose up above it, like the phoenix rising out of the ashes, and I know he will somehow survive this. As we take off in the van, I order, let's go find the other team. Present, Linus. I wake up with a hell of a headache. This is worse than when I tried to drink myself to death after my sister's death. I open my eyes, look around, and realize we're in a hell of a mess. Present, Jens, PT. The next morning at the cabin. We're in a hell of a firefight. How did these scumsuckers get through the security system, and who the hell are they? Thank God the twins knew something about this. I will need to talk to them later. And we geared up, otherwise we would have been caught flat-foot. The twins took off after the assailants. Everyone else has fallen back to the house, which is a fortress. Then Zarika surprises the hell out of me. She yells, Jens lady, I will attack these bad people. You go to the house. And sprints towards the onslaught. There's no way in hell I can leave here out here. So I lay down a hellacious covering fire. She safely reaches cover, then begins to fire, and I reluctantly head toward the conflagration. Present, Zarika, PT. The next morning at the cabin. As we fight, I remember Ben told me the best defense is a good offense. I see the two nice same ladies run after the attackers, and it makes me want to do the same to impress the Jens lady since I know she will tell Ben. So I decide to help them and fight. I run up to a little well that I heard called the Well of Wishes while the Jens lady gives me cover, but not as good as Ben does it. I reach there, rise up, and begin to fire. I will not let these bad people ruin my Ben's cabin. Even though the Jens lady lives here now, someday I will live here with Ben. Then I feel a terrible pain in my arm. It is like the bite of 1,000 sandflies. Present, Jens, PT. The next morning at the cabin. Shit. Zarika falls to the ground and begins to squirm. That can only mean she's been hit. I run up beside her, look down, and see blood squirting out of her arm. Son of a bitch, they hit an artery. I need to make a decision. I can fight or take care of Zarika. I yank off my shirt, press it to her arm with all my might, and pray the attackers don't overrun us. Then something incredible happens. Present, Mira and Ira, PT. The next morning at the cabin. Projectiles pepper and pop off my body armor. Someone's cranial carapace is going to depart in a rollicking, rotating motion. Should my sister Ira and I survive this onslaught, our vengeance will be historic. The only thing worse than inferior intelligence is a total absence of intelligence, and our source had led us into a devious deception. They cognized we would encounter 10 adversaries, and we now faced a number close to 10 times that numerical value. But the smaller the Saluki, the finer the fight. I aim my weapon, return fire, and 2 more adversaries succumb. My sister Mira and I are separated, and I need to contact her. She should not be in this conflagration considering her delicate disorder. Yes, my sister Mira is fertilized and with child at this moment. I need to force her to return to the safety of the domicile. The quantity of assailants is markedly larger than our intelligence indicated, but battle is no place for a young mother to be. I jump up, run toward Mira, and son of a female Saluki. Something has. I oculate that my sister Ira has fallen. This is particularly peculiar. The assailants must have intelligence concerning our armor and have taken corrective measures with their projectiles. I stand, fire a long burst, then locomote toward my fallen sister. Just when I assume things cannot become more troubled, I oculate 2 black utility of sport vehicles headed up the road. The adversarial reinforcements have arrived. Present, Ben, Austin, Texas, Eugene, Onegin rehearsals. Call me a fool, but I can never ignore a damsel in distress, especially when I'm the cause of the distress. I am talking to Tatiana after I insulted Yevgeny, after he insulted Tatiana, and he stormed off the stage. The conductor comes over and yells, just who the hell are you, and why are you in a close practice? You know you've cost me a whole day of practice. I look at him, glance at Tatiana, and I make a decision. I simply reply, I will fill in for Yevgeny until you can either get him back or find a replacement. In hindsight, this is probably not my wisest decision. The conductor glares at me and snips, just what makes you think you can replace Eugene? I grin at him and counter, if I can't fill in for him today, I will reimburse you the entire cost of the day. Tatiana pleads, please sir, give this man a chance. The conductor looks at me and says, whatever. Give this ruffian the music. I grin at him and declare, give me a few minutes to remember things, and I won't need the music. He gives me a quizzical look and questions, what are you, some sort of musical idiot savant? I laugh and reply, well, many people think I'm an idiot, but I actually have eidetic memory for music. I hear a piece once and can either play it or sing it. The conductor scoffs, well, we will see about that. Now come up on the stage, and please let us know when you are ready. I take the stage. Tatiana takes my hand and whispers, "What is your real name, my shining knight?" I know the Erast persona won't hold water with a real Russian, so I say the first name that pops into my head. I'm Pavel Andreevich Chekhov. Again, probably not my wisest choice, but I was under duress. She gives me a silly grin and declares, "Come, Pavel, we need to take our places." The music starts and my mind travels back to St. Petersburg, Russia, the Mariinsky Theater, and one very special night, with a very different and special Tatiana. Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga, on a chartered jet headed towards Venezuela. I can't believe it. Inga has totally changed personas in the car. She's no longer the femme fatale seductress. She throws a bag to me and Byron and orders, "Get changed because we are going to war." Then she begins to peel off her clothes as my eyes travel over her luscious body. She notices and reprimands, "Tom, you had your opportunity last night and did not avail yourself. It is much too late now, so keep your lust-filled eyes to yourself." I am laughing my butt off. As Inga has become all business, Tom's interest in her has magnified exponentially. Yes, the proverbial shoe is on the other foot. I gear up with what is some of the best gear I've ever used and question, "Inga, how did you?" She interrupts, "Byron, it is my job to know what your sizes are and to make sure you have the correct equipment before we go into battle." I question, "Well, since you seem to know so much, tell us about this upcoming battle." She and I have already changed, so I take the weapons that were in the bag and make sure they are prepped as she states, "This is the only mission briefing you will receive, so pay attention and we might survive." Megan has linked up with Daniel, Crazy, Barrera, who is the head of the largest narcotic cartel in Colombia. He has expanded his operations into Venezuela because things were becoming too difficult in Colombia. She has been adding highly addictive psychotropic narcotic to the normal cocaine with deleterious results. Tom questions, "What results are we talking about?" Inga glares at him and orders, "Tom, do not interrupt me again. The laced cocaine is more addictive than anything, even crack cocaine. One dose, and the user is addicted and needs ever-increasing doses of the narcotic. We and several other that are already in place will perform a forced entry, capture Megan, and return her to Ms. Donaldson." I question, "Just how are we to capture her without killing her?" Inga states, "Unlike Tom's question, yours is a valid question. The shotgun barrel on your M4 is loaded with taser rounds, and there are extra cartridges in the shotgun bandoliers of your tactical vests. Make sure to use those on Megan." Inga continued with the tactical plan. Flashback, Ben Beslin. Sitting in the tree wasn't getting me anywhere. In fact, it was just getting me pissed off. Since the terrors had smashed the windows, I could hear the turmoil inside. The terrors had moved all the hostages into the gym and had wired the building with explosives. I was just getting ready to leave the tree when, what the hell? I heard 2 ballistic cracks, but no report from the rifle. Somewhere there was a sniper with a suppressed weapon. I listened closely and heard the tinkle of brass hitting the school roof. What an amateur. I pulled the monocular out of my go bag, scanned the hell out of the roof, and son of a bitch, they had a sniper's hide with a sniper in it on the roof. Damn, they were ingenious scumsuckers. They removed the guts of a tall heating unit, and their inside sat the sniper. Shit, he was so well hidden I hadn't seen him from the ground, and if he had not made such an amateur mistake of not using a brass catcher, I wouldn't have been so lucky and located him. I bet none of the Russian forces even knew about him. This was going to be tricky. It took the rest of the night for me to inch slowly out on the limb of the tree. Every move made the limb groan and creak, so I prayed it would hold my weight. It held up until I was just over the edge of the roof when the limb broke and I landed on the roof. I readied the AK and held my breath. But my good luck held as I was behind a heating vent and the sniper didn't come to see what happened. Now to work my way closer to the scumsucker. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. I felt great this morning and put last night's worries behind me. That is until I saw a new email in the inbox waiting to be decrypted. Email from an officer was never good, and when it was from the major it was even worse. I loaded the email in the decryption program and walked back toward the bed. Masha smiled at me, then sat up and questioned, "Jack, my love, what is wrong?" I tried to hide my concern with a smile and replied, "It's just an email from my major, and it's probably nothing." Masha jumped out of bed, threw on her robe, and declared, "We need to see what is going on in Beslin." She turned on the TV, and we both sat on the couch. Things had come to a standstill, and I only assumed it was the time for negotiations. She held my hand and asked, "Jack, do you think Ben will be safe without you?" I squeezed her hand and said, "Well, I taught him all I know, so he should be fine if he doesn't go off half-cocked." This prompted a long explanation of what half-cocked meant. When we were finished, Masha said something about being fully cocked, and one thing lead to another. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. Damn, it's late, and things look to be at a standstill in Beslin. I thought it was interesting the terrors broke out all the windows. I guess they learned about gas attacks from the Dubrovka theater fiasco. I could only imagine how America would react if we flooded a theater with tactical gas, which killed more hostages than the terrorists murdered. Heads would roll. I knew that Sergeant Reynolds would be up soon and would get my email. What a good thought to end my shift. Now to go home and get some sleep. Flashback, Jack, in Moscow. The email was waiting for me when Masha and I were finished. She went to the kitchen to make breakfast while I read it and exclaimed, "That rat scum-sucker." Masha looked at me and questioned, "Jack, what is wrong?" I looked at her, gulped, and answered, "The major said that since I didn't get deployed with my team, he wants me to come back to America to answer some questions." I watched Masha. She seemed to be thinking. Then she announced, "Jack, do not worry. You are about to have a relapse. Now I must clean up, change into some clothes, and then leave for a little while." I started to argue, but she came to me, gave me a hug, and stated, "Jack, I just found you, and I will not let your silly major take you away. When I am gone, have a good breakfast, then clean yourself up. After I get back, you will need to go to the hospital." Flashback, Masha, in Moscow. I had the required formula in my purse to inflict the illness upon my love Jack. However, I could not let him know that fact. He was an astute man, and that would engender too many questions. Besides, I needed to check in with my office to see what the Sedankina twins were doing, and also to give my superiors a report I had fabricated from vapors. Things were fine until I reached my office, where I had an emergency email from Miranda. Her sister was missing, and she assumed their adversaries had captured her. I put the office on alert, quickly sent many reinforcements to help her, then sent her a message telling her I had one thing to do, then I would be back to manage the crisis. I rushed back to our apartment, and Jack looked great. I was going to hate myself for what I was going to do to him, but it was the only way we could remain together. I asked, "Jack, my love, please reply to your major and inform him you are having a relapse of your recent illness." He complained, "Masha, this won't work unless I am in a hospital." I smiled at him and explained, "Jack, I hate to do this, but I am going to give you a special syrup that will make you sick." He gave me a questioning look, sort of like, "Ipecac? Now this won't kill me, will it?" I shook my head. "Of course it won't kill you. I would never do anything to hurt you. It will just make you ill for a few days, and by then this whole Beslan incident will be over, and you will be needed here." What I didn't tell Jack was I also needed him unconscious while I handled the Sedankina crisis. So I mixed up the illness syrup and added a sleeping syrup too. I kissed Jack, handed the fluid to him, and said, "Drink this, and then we will take you to the hospital." He drank it, and I ordered, "Quick, we need to get you to the hospital." He complained, "But I feel fine." I grabbed his hand. We ran downstairs, caught a taxi, and headed toward the hospital. 10 minutes later, Jack looked at me and said, "Masha, I don't feel fine anymore." Those were the last words he said as he became unconscious. I berated the taxi driver and encouraged him to proceed more rapidly. We arrived at the emergency entrance. Some orderlies exited, placed Jack upon a gurney, and we rushed into the hospital. I informed the doctors of his condition and that he was an American soldier. They whisked him away into isolation as I withdrew my mobile phone and called the American embassy to inform them of Jack's illness. Now to take care of the Sedankina problem. Flashback, Mira, in Israel. I searched the whole alley to no avail until I heard the klaxons of approaching law enforcement vehicles. Someone had captured my sister. However, I could sense that she was not yet deceased. Whatever son of a female Saluki had taken her would regret that heinous action. I sent an email to Masha. Flashback, Ira, in Israel. I slowly awoke and realized I had made a substantial tactical error. I was so focused on saving my sister that I had not realized an aggressor was behind me. The last thing I remembered was hearing gunshots, so I could only hope Mira survived. I struggled against my bonds. Heard someone walk across the floor toward as he threatened, "It's about time you awakened. I have many questions for you, and then we will participate in some recreational activities." That voice. I know that voice. It was Flashback, Ben Beslan. Well, that was easier than I thought it would be. The would-be sniper's body lay upon the roof, and I had control of the sniper's hide. I slipped up on him and slit his throat with my knife, while he was distracted looking at the troops stationed around the school. It was only after he was dead I discovered the suicide vest he was wearing. Thank God it wasn't hooked to a dead man's switch otherwise. I glassed the buildings around the school and saw troops stationed in all of them. Not only that, but they were carrying RPGs and those damn RPOA Schmel rockets, which were more like a rocket-propelled napalm. They were very nasty and should have been outlawed. The day wore on, and the temperature in the sniper's hide became barely tolerable. I longed to know what was going on, but during the daytime, I didn't dare move or leave the hide. I glassed the troops, and they looked as bored as I was. I did see Yuri and felt badly because I knew he was going to catch hell for what I did. I decided to catch a little catnap, so I could stay up tonight and change locations. I woke with a start. How the hell did the sniper get on the roof? There must be an access door somewhere to the roof. Now to wait until dark and then find that damn access door. Flashback, Major M, undisclosed base. I slept great last night. Not only was I sure Sergeant Blaine was with his team, I was going to get Sergeant Reynolds back here and grill the hell out of him concerning Baskerville. I dressed, headed to my office, logged into my computer, and noted I had a reply from Sergeant Reynolds. This should be good. I sent it to decryption, then answered my phone messages. I hit the third message, and my whole plan went to hell. It was from the ambassador to Russia in Moscow. Sergeant Reynolds had a relapse and was unconscious in a local hospital. The doctors had no idea what was wrong with him, theorized it might be something contagious, so they had him in isolation. I dashed off a quick email to the ambassador and asked him to notify me when Sergeant Reynolds regained consciousness. Something about this didn't feel right to me. I became even more suspicious when the SGTS email came back and reported he was having a relapse, so he was going to the hospital. The fourth phone message was even worse. It was the old man, and he wanted a report in 2 hours on what was going on in Russia. How the hell did I know? I hadn't heard anything from Sergeant Blaine, which still made me believe he was deployed. However, with Sergeant Reynolds' illness, Sergeant Blaine might also be incapacitated. I made up my mind and started to type up a report that said Sergeant Blaine was deployed and Sergeant Reynolds was in the hospital. If I was wrong about this, the old man would have my head. Dear listeners, next part of the story will be released soon. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.